Say again?
I just want a little lion cub that's going.
Yeah.
Basically,
They do grow.
Basically a cat.
yeah, but I want like a dwarf one that doesn't grow.
Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to another episode of Pic.Think. We have someone new, but not new to the Pic.Think brand, but new to the recording. The artiste behind all the sketches, the illustrations, Sadiya Rabia.
Taking a break from the artists.
Yeah. Tell the people how it's been stressing you out.
Very stressing. It's just, as an artist, you can't rush. It's like I felt like I had to like rush to keep up with Saeed. But in a way, it's like when you're drawing, you just can't not rush. Otherwise, it just goes. And I felt at the end of each drawing, I felt so drained. So drained that I can't even watch anything on laptop or read or anything. So next day is just I had to like have time for myself.
Yeah.
Lie down.
They are amazing though. You can see that you put in everything into it. Yeah.
The visuals.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question though. How long does it take?
Depends on the OJ one. It took like 3 weeks.
Wow.
But the cartoon ones, the animation like the Inside Out, it takes a week.
Okay.
That's still quite a long time.
It is a long time.
Yeah.
Literally.
I
I think when you see the visuals, you just see it, so you think
exactly.
this is quick.
Yeah, exactly.
But when when you actually deep it,
it's
quite a long time.
That's why I just told Sadiya just to take your time with it.
Yeah.
Take your time. But then I know that when it comes out, it'll be worthwhile.
Can't
rush it now. But yeah, also with me, Gladys and Raveen. Familiar faces. How are we?
Good.
You're all good.
Yeah.
Looking forward to this review of The Lion King. We're doing both the original 1994 Lion King versus the remake, the photorealistic remake by Jon Favreau. Am I pronouncing it right? Favreau?
Yes.
Yeah. He was a similar director for Jungle Book, and he directed Iron Man as well.
Really?
Yeah. Did Iron Man as well. So I think he was just building the name constantly, and then he presented the idea to do the Lion King, and then it went forward after doing Jungle Book.
He must have done a great job because I do not see Iron Man references in the new.
No.
Because usually when a director directs one movie, like say an action movie, and suddenly he goes into an animation movie, you see some action parts in the animation.
Oh, so you mean
inserts,
like certain habits that you might put in there, you might put in the other one. Okay, I see that. But yeah, so he worked on it for I think 3 to 4 years. I think he said, that's what he said. But yeah, so the first question I have for you guys. Actually, no. Let me start off with this. What TV shows and movies have you guys been watching, or have you guys been hibernating from watching TV and movies?
Watching recently?
Yeah.
New season of Orange is the New Black on Netflix has come out.
I haven't seen that yet.
I haven't watched that since season 3.
What did I just?
It's the last season, thankfully, because it's just been
they
dragging.
just dragged out. Stranger Things. Stranger Things. I just finished that.
I just finished that too. The last episode is the best episode.
Oh my God, why so intense?
Best episode, like.
Sadly, you haven't watched
I
it.
don't know. I watched the first season, but I haven't watched the second.
First season was the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
It's the second one when they go into the Upside Down. Second season.
Yeah, there's bits of it, I think, in the first as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I rewatched the first actually. It was good.
Okay.
I didn't hear it was back till this week.
Yeah, I think so.
I heard it was back to
2,
normal.
3 weeks. Yeah, that and I just binge watched Money Heist as well.
You recommended that
in like 3 days or 2 days.
Yeah, I've been
like, wow, done already. Now what?
How many episodes?
I think it was 9. That's why I'm like, there must be a 10th, and I just slept on it. There has to be.
I'm
gonna go back and look.
No, but now it seems like they're just doing not random episodes, but it doesn't seem like you can have like a
it was
a set like 10 episodes or
Stranger Things was 8, was it?
Yeah, 8.
I can't remember. But what have I been watching recently? Oh, I did go and watch Toy Story 4 though.
You did?
I did,
What
yeah.
did you think?
I thought...
He's tight-lipped about it.
It's hard. Like, I think the best way to do it is by the analogy that I told Sadiya. Basically, I basically watched Toy Story from beginning to... Basically, Monday I watched Toy Story 1, Tuesday Toy Story 2, 3, and so on. On Thursday I watched Toy Story 4. So the analogy is that if I put it into like book form, if it's kind of like a book, the first one and the second one are like the introduction and standalone book that an author's made that kind of gets them famous.
Mm.
And then Toy Story 3 is the sequel that people are skeptical about whether the person can follow up with, but then it meets expectation. And Toy Story 4 feels like the epilogue to that book. It feels like someone, if you wanted to know more, you could, but you can finish before getting to the epilogue.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. What do you think? Because you have seen it as well.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think they could have... But then I feel kind of the same about number 3.
Do you?
Like, number 3 for me was... I could have gone without.
Wow. Nah, for me, number 3 was, like, emotional, and it was like... it was the one that I didn't think that I needed. I thought that I was going to be like, they didn't need to do that. But then when I actually saw it, I was just like, wow.
Yeah, no. I guess because then Andy goes off to college and stuff, so I guess that could have been a nice ending. They didn't need number 4.
Yeah, they didn't.
Number 4 was better than I thought it would be.
Exactly. Same thing with me. Yeah, same thing that I said. It's better than I thought it would be. It's emotional as well.
Yeah.
It is funny, like you said.
Yeah, man.
But...
Forky. Carry me?
Wait, who?
Forky.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking of...
No, they're walking and he's like, carry me?
Yeah, I remember.
It's funny.
Then I was thinking of Key and Peele as those toys that we're talking about. Yeah, those were funny. I thought they were funny.
Is he both of them?
No, Key and Peele. So Keegan is one guy. Okay. Peele is another. Okay. I didn't think Peele was the bigger guy, but apparently he is. And what was it about? Oh yeah, and also I said that I thought that the whole Toy Story arc was about going through changes. In each one, they're going through certain changes. The first one is Woody having to deal with a new toy coming and being replaced. The second one was about him kind of dealing with it's kind of like old age, like when you start to age and then you're not as good as you used to be. That's why his arm broke and stuff like that. And then he was trying to cling on to something that would last forever. That's why, do you remember when he was looking back at his old TV show and all that stuff, and he wanted to go to the museum?
Oh, in the 4th one?
In the second one.
Oh, yeah.
Then in the 3rd, it was dealing with the change of Andy growing up and not playing with them and them having to move on. As well, them having to move on and Andy having to move on. And then the 4th was like, I told Sadiya this, it's like, I don't want to ruin it, but if it's about giving up your childhood in the 3rd, it's about retirement of one of the characters in the 4th. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So, yeah, I'll leave it there. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I've been watching recently, plus Lion King. Watch that. So the first question I did have...
One more.
Wait.
I watched Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
That was really good.
Yeah. Homecoming or Far From Home?
No, wait. Far From Home. Sorry.
Yeah. That was really good. Yeah, definitely. I like that one.
Yeah.
About illusions and stuff like that. That was quite... Yeah,
that was good.
I really did enjoy that.
Yeah. Same.
When are they going to stop remaking Spider-Man now, though?
I think they should stop.
They need to stop.
Yeah, they should stop with him. Because he's quite a good Spider-Man film.
Yeah,
so
he
I
is.
think. But the only thing I don't like about it as well is that he idolizes Iron Man too much. I felt like Spider-Man's never been that to me. Someone that idolizes someone else. So that's what bothers me quite a bit. But
maybe they do that because he dies in Avengers. I don't know.
But even before that, he idolized him.
Yeah, it's true. It was
in the first one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the first question I did have for Disney's Lion King and the photorealistic remake was, if in the future you decide to have children, if or when you decide to have children, which Disney or Disney Pixar stories would you choose to raise them on, and why these stories?
Oh, wow.
Which Lion King?
No. Disney and Disney Pixar. Which stories would you choose to raise your kids on? I know you understand the reason why I asked this, Sadiya.
Yeah.
Because I was raised on the Lion King. I just used to watch it all the time. So
it's a family movie.
It is a family movie. That's why we went to even watch it together.
Yeah. Lion King is just a given.
Yeah.
You're gonna watch it. You're gonna like it.
Mm-hmm. You're gonna watch it over and over and over again.
You're gonna know every song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Inside Out.
Yeah, that's one thing. That's on my list as well.
That would be more for me.
Yeah.
No.
Definitely.
I would raise my kids on the Jungle Book.
Would you?
Yeah.
I didn't even know you like Jungle Book like that.
No, I don't like it like that, but I would raise them on Jungle Book.
Why would you raise them on Jungle Book?
Well, it would teach them about lost and finding your way home. It's like when you lost something inside you, or you lost your identity or something. It teaches.
Okay.
It teaches, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Up. I really like Up. I don't know why.
I feel like it's overrated.
The beginning of the story.
I feel like Up is overrated.
Oh my God.
People said, the beginning of the story is going to make you cry. And then I was like, no, it didn't.
Why is that so easy? No, I think because I watched it before, I didn't realise there was such a hype about. Oh my God,
there was a hype
on Up.
Yeah, I watched it quite late as well, and I remember I was watching it in like my kitchen at home, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna watch this because it was like on the list of things to watch. And I was sitting there, and I was so cut up. My mum was looking at me.
I'm like, what?
And I had to go into my room because it got too loud, and I was like, no, it's too much.
Do you not find it getting emotional?
No, I was actually staying face. I was actually, okay, I understood why people cried. But it was like, it didn't touch me like that. I was like...
Oh my gosh.
Nah, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, Up is
up there.
quite good.
Okay.
What other Pixar?
I couldn't even remember the story about. That's the thing. I've only watched it once, but I can't remember the story. I can remember the beginning because people hyped it, but I can't remember the story exactly. About the little boy in the balloon.
Takes the house. The old man doesn't want to sell his house. They want to
I think it was about when his wife was living, they made a goal for themselves to visit a certain place in Brazil, but they didn't achieve the goal. Every time they saved money, something will get damaged, and they have to use all that money to repair a leak in the wall or kitchen or something, whatever.
Okay.
And then when she finally died, he made it his goal to achieve what their dream together.
Okay. I think I need to watch it again because that does sound quite good.
Yeah, but wasn't it? The little boy kind of motivated him to achieve it, didn't he? I think. I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I think he did. I think he's like the old man just like lost all hope.
Yeah, and he was
And
really
the little boy was
grumpy.
an energy.
Yeah.
A boost.
Like new life, new energy. Yeah. That sounds cool. I'll watch it again. So we got...
And you will cry this time.
So we got Lion King, Inside Out, Up. Jungle Book.
Have you guys watched Mowgli?
I haven't watched it.
I
That was really good. Oh my God. But like scary
when
too.
I was watching, I was like, oh, another Jungle Book movie.
Yeah, but it's different.
It's different.
It's different. Yeah, but it's... Oh my God,
This one is like not for young kids.
No, not at all. Like when the monkeys get him, I was like, what is going on?
Is that the one?
And it's more bloody.
Yeah, very.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is Mowgli the TV show or is it the...
No, it's the
movie on
Netflix. Yeah.
Jungle Book movie and then the Mowgli movie. Okay. Cool.
I also quite like Frozen. Not gonna lie. No, because
I love the way she said not gonna lie.
So bad.
No,
you know it's forbidden.
The moral of the story, like literally, I kind of felt like the first time I watched it with my niece and my sisters, and we was all so emotional. And but the story about it is like, you know, that whole sisterhoods or
Yeah.
siblinghood,
Mm-hmm.
even though the parents gave like the daughter the wrong advice to like stay in and keep her powers to herself and stuff. It's just like, okay, parents might not always give you the right advice, but between like siblings and sisters, you always like find a way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like if you're planning to have more than one child, that would be a good like film to raise them up on. About,
Okay.
like,
I just love that the ending wasn't a cliche.
Yeah,
the whole
that,
thing wasn't. It wasn't just man orientated.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I don't. I like that was different, but I just don't get how it blew up so much.
Yeah,
like,
that's what it is. That's
get
what it
it.
is.
They re-released it with single. I'm like, what is it about Frozen that they just...
I guess they needed something like that because there's always been like a film that blows up or something.
Yeah.
And for quite a while, there wasn't really...
No, it's true.
anything.
Frozen has taken over.
The last thing I can remember is like High School Musical.
Oh, yeah. God.
Oh, yeah.
And that was way back.
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago.
No,
More than.
it's funny. I like Olaf. You know, when his head's up like that. My whole world is upside down. Oh, he's funny. I could actually watch it just then.
Okay.
Yeah,
I understand that, actually.
Yeah, and as you said, it wasn't a cliche ending.
Yeah,
as
it's
well.
different. I do like it.
To be honest, I did rate. I think it is the blowing up. It was just too much, and I always hear when I was at work because when I used to do entertainment crew. Oh, that song got on my Let It Go. Oh.
It was everywhere.
And the way the university students were singing with passion, I couldn't believe it. I was thinking,
university?
Yeah, because I was working at uni, entertainment crew, and then it was like a cheesy night kind of thing.
Oh God, one
and
of those.
then Frozen is like either the penultimate or ultimate song
in the club.
In the club. That's why
everyone's
it's cheesy
singing
night.
with their chest.
Singing with their chest.
No.
Absolutely.
No.
It's that one, and there was another one, Wonderwall. That was another one that people used to.
Okay, at least
sing.
that's a real song. I don't say a real song. It's not.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But for me, the list was Lion King, Toy Story, Monsters Inc.
Oh yeah.
Inside Out, and Coco.
What's Coco?
Yeah,
Oh.
Coco.
I haven't seen.
You haven't seen Coco?
Never heard of it.
Sally, do you know the story off my head? Because right now I'm kind of drawing a blank.
Disney or Pixar?
Well,
Pixar.
I'm not familiar with the Mexican thing, but it's like the Day of the Dead, where they celebrate their the loved one that has passed. What do you want me to just say the plot or?
No, just like a rough synopsis. If what you can remember, that was all right to kind of get my mind going again. Yeah, basically, it's about the Day of the Dead, and it's about how do I explain it? It's like basically the celebration of the Day of the Dead is where the people will have like a photo or something, and they'll have like not a shrine but like a shrine dedicated to their lost ones, their family members, and so on and so forth. And it's kind of like it brings to have their picture up brings them back to
Earth.
brings them back to Earth as ghosts, kind of thing. And in the mix of this, there's a boy who kind of is grown up in a shoemaker family, but he doesn't want to shoemake. He wants to be a musician. And then he kind of goes into the Day of the Dead thinking that he's going to find his father or something like that. Something like that.
Okay.
Or no, he doesn't go in, actually goes in there by mistake. His great-grandfather or something like that. Yeah, I can't remember the plot so well, but I just remember that it's...
The family hated music.
Yeah.
Because the great-grandfather left the great-grandmother and never came back. It's like abandonment.
That's the one, yeah. He chased his dreams. Apparently, yeah.
Okay, so there's some good themes in it.
Yeah. It's hard to kind of sum up, but it is definitely worth a watch.
Do you know what's another one actually? Like Mulan or something for a girl, have a girl. Yeah. Even if I have a boy.
Yeah.
But for the girl, she's you can do what you like. Don't let it tell you nothing. You be a warrior if you want to be.
Yeah. Okay, maybe that's why a lot of girls, I've noticed a lot of girls say, oh, Mulan's there.
Yeah. Forget what everyone else.
I can't remember it.
I don't know Inside Out. Like I haven't watched it that many times, but when I have, I'm just like, yes. Because she has to pretend to be a boy, to be a warrior, because she's like the best one. And everyone's like, what? She's female, she can't do it. We can do it! That's one, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's understandable as well. So are there any more before I move on?
Come to me later.
Yeah. If they come, they come. Okay, so moving on to the review section. When you first heard the news of this photorealistic remake of The Lion King, were you excited or apprehensive?
Apprehensive.
Were you?
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bit both.
But more excited.
When you heard,
When I first heard.
when you heard, let's say for example, when you saw the poster with all the cast.
Yeah,
I was excited.
Oh my God.
I was like, this is going to be sick.
I started getting excited when I found Mufasa's coming back.
Okay.
That's the one that did it for me.
Yeah, when I saw James Earl Jones was still Mufasa, I was like, okay, they're keeping true to it somehow.
No.
And
more excited. And then as it got closer to the release, then I got a bit more apprehensive. But
is it?
when I first heard, when was it? 2 years ago that they said it was coming out? Was it
last year?
Was it just last year?
Last year when they released the poster.
Because it was just the visuals and then the cast, and I was like,
And then they released that the opening to the film. When they released the opening to the film, that's when I got goosebumps. I was like, okay, this looks good. Was that this year or was it last year that they released that?
I think this year.
Was it?
Early this year, maybe.
I don't know. It was last year, December.
You remember?
Around December, so yeah.
Have you guys watched the Lion King trilogy? I know me and Sadiya have. But have you watched 2 and 3?
Yes, ages ago.
I think I've watched 2. Is that the one with something Kiara? Yeah, I've watched that one ages ago, but I haven't watched the third one.
Is the third one more Timon and Pumbaa?
Yeah, it's just their origin story around in the background of...
Before Simba was born.
Yeah, time ago I did watch them.
Yeah. And then, it went into Simba's life and then, and then how they met each other and all that stuff. All the background stuff. And then also, you start to see the teenage years of Simba as well in that one. I was going to say, did you feel as though that was worth continuing, the story? If you can remember even a little bit about it. If not, then...
The second one, probably, it could do with that. The way you're describing the third one, I don't remember it that much, but, the background and stuff, that probably, you could watch it. But the second one with... It's Nala and Simba's kid, isn't it?
Yeah.
I feel like they didn't really need... Because the way Lion King, the first one, ended...
It's kind of like you fill in
there were no leads, that you could say, I want to know more about this. It was you had your closure. You didn't really
You didn't think so? I felt like when they put the...
They held her up.
When they held her up at the end, I was like, something else.
Like, ooh, they got their own child.
Yeah.
Don't happen here.
Yeah, that's how I felt. So then that's why I felt like it was not necessary, but it was... I appreciated it.
Yeah.
I appreciated it. But apparently it's not rated. It's not rated as highly as the first one, of course not. But I don't think any sequel to any of the films like Aladdin or what other films have Disney films have.
Do you know what? First question, sorry.
Yeah.
The Incredibles.
Oh,
The Incredibles is incredible.
I love the Incredibles.
That's the second one. I feel like that followed. Oh my God, it was just amazing.
Have I seen? Oh yeah, we watched it around Christmas, didn't we? The second one.
Or was it the third one? Was it the second one? Yeah.
The second one.
I watched it first. When I watched it, I was glued to the set.
Yeah.
I was fixed to it. When it finished, oh, okay.
No, The Incredibles.
Yeah, The Incredibles is my all-time favourite.
And the second one, the theme of the woman, I'm just a bit obsessed with feminism.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because it's the mum goes off and the dad's becomes to stay at home.
Yeah,
it's just,
that's what happened. Yeah. No, that was funny.
The second one was as good as in the cinema. I was like, this isn't for kids, so this is an adult film.
Yeah. That's what I love about Disney, that both adults and children can enjoy it just as much.
Jack blowing up and watch it again. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's fine. That's fine. Basically, in his breakdown of The Lion King's opening scene with Vanity Fair, it's on YouTube, the director, Jon Favreau, recognized that the task was daunting because, quote, so many people had such a connection to the original film. It was different from the Jungle Book because people know the Jungle Book, but people don't know the Jungle Book like they know the Lion King. There's a whole generation that grew up watching Lion King on a loop. Did Jon Favreau manage to do our generation justice with the remake, or does it come across as a disservice or a cash grab? What, do you want me to repeat?
No.
Okay, wait. You thought that it was like a...
For me, it was so trash. I didn't like it at all. I was sitting in the cinema and I was like, I'm wasting my time. I felt like my time, I very rarely feel like my time is wasted, you know? But I was like, really? at one point I wanted to walk out because I was like, I need to get home and go to sleep. But I thought, no, like, I need to continue watching it.
You didn't like it at all? At all?
No.
But it was...
It's anticlimactic. I don't know what I expected, because I guess I would be upset if they changed a lot, but it was just the same thing. The visuals were great. Like, when I looked at this line, it's like real life, but it was just the same thing.
Okay, so you Raveen, you felt like it was unoriginal.
Yeah, but then I don't want there to be changes, but there was nothing that really, from the trailer, that grabbed me, and I was like, yeah, I can't wait for this to just, I don't know, be more emotional or what, but I didn't get anything more out of it.
Emotion as well. Okay.
Even when the scene when Professor died, I was just like,
there were no tears.
Straight face. And that was so quick as well. Like, I don't know, I felt like in the original, it was more like,
the stampede, I felt it wasn't intense.
No.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it was a very weak version of the film. Like, everything, all aspects were just so weak.
Even like the relationship.
Even Simba's reaction to his father dying.
Yeah.
In the remake, I didn't feel.
No.
I didn't feel for Simba there.
Or even like the love between Nala and Simba.
I'm thinking, your dad's dead. Can get some more emotion. Some more emotion. But just no.
What you mentioned, I understand, but I still felt because it's such a film that's like I mentioned to my sister, that it's such a film that resonates with me, and like it's like a deep rooted film that even watching it without the emotion, I just appreciated the visuals and I kind of placed the emotion onto it, I suppose.
Okay.
That's how I felt. But I understand why people say it. From watching around on critiques and reading around, I understand what people are saying, because there's like a YouTube channel called Toon Ruins, and then they criticized Jon Favreau and said that his decision to make it photorealistic kind of veered away from what his creative decision in the Jungle Book. The Jungle Book, he made reactions to people. People have reactions on their faces, emotional reactions, but he wanted to make it so real. And Toon Ruins mentioned that with cats, they don't show facial emotion. So when people see cats and think that they're soulless or whatever, it's not that. It's more so that the emotion is in their ears or their tail or their bodily movements. So then that's the reason why if you're a cat lover, or if you own a cat, or if you live with a cat, you start to understand the stuff that they did. Like, you know, when Scar was looking at Simba running off like here, and then his ear was twitching. I think that's something to do with agitation. So I think they made it too real to the point where it's like people couldn't relate to it. People could only analyze it and think, oh yeah, that's what is going on, if they are even clued up on that. But also, it was criticized by Toon Ruins by saying that there was a lack of vibrant colours that were in the original. You know, like with the songs that were being done, and like
even Circle of Life, like when it first opened, there was no, like, it didn't grab me.
And I think that's part of Jon Favreau's decision, because he even said in that interview, he was talking about the sky, the way the sky was, and then apparently it was suggested that he kind of like alter it and make it like a bit more vibrant, but he opted for the realistic sky look. Okay, so he was saying, when do you really get like a sky that looks, I don't know, with how many colours and it's rare. So he opted for like everything to be quite authentic. But it seemed like it worked to its detriment now, because people were expecting something more vibrant, something more lively.
Yeah,
because even when Mufasa had Simba and was like, everything the light touches, I was like, I can't see no light.
No.
It was like, it was really hard to...
He was probably talking about daylight.
Yeah, no.
And then like the dark shadowy bit wasn't as dark and shadowy. Like, it was,
it's a bit too real.
Yeah,
it's a bit too real. That's what it is. So you feel like it wasn't beneficial to to the outcome, basically, at all.
And I felt like the hyenas weren't as funny.
You didn't think so?
No.
I like that.
I love them in this.
Yeah.
Oh, well, they weren't as funny, of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, as in, like, I felt like they did something new with Key as the Lion King. You know, not as the Lion King, as the hyena. No, the one that kept on saying, I need a bit of personal space. No, I felt like he was quite funny. But I do understand what you mean, because Whoopi Goldberg just like...
she's Whoopi.
Yeah, and Ed, they didn't have Ed.
Ed is rare.
He's the dumb one, isn't
The
he?
dumb one,
Yeah.
They didn't have Ed in it. So then that's why it didn't have that. I think, mainly it was Key that was funny. Shenzi was like the matriarch.
She was too serious.
She was.
Who's too serious?
Shenzi.
Shenzi was too serious.
Remake. She was just too serious.
You know, it was the person that played that. I don't know how true it is. I watched something and they said that it was the you know, what's his name? What's his name? T'Challa's right-hand woman in Black Panther. Played Shenzi, which is probably why she was so serious.
She has, yeah.
Is it the black one, the bald one? Oh, okay.
Apparently so.
Oh, no.
Apparently so. But when I was watching the review, and then I was looking at both, and I was like, no, they don't look alike. But I'm going to take the person's word for it. That's what it was. So, if anything, what would you say resonates most with you in the original film, and what would you say resonated in the remake, if anything?
The original's just all of it.
Just all of it. That's how I feel. Yeah.
All of it, but the beginning, the opening especially, just the song, all the animals coming together, the colour, everything, this hot circle of life is... But yeah, no, all of it. Is there anything that you appreciated in the remake?
The remake. Well, I do appreciate something in the remake. Not as like affection, but respect. Like they didn't make the animals dance. Otherwise, it would be animal abuse.
Yeah. It's very
So
real.
I wanted to see Timon's hula dance.
Oh yeah.
I was hoping they put it back, but when I was watching, I was glad. Okay, yeah.
It makes sense that they
didn't put it.
Yeah.
Because we don't see real animals dancing hula.
Yeah, exactly.
Hula dance,
Exactly.
Yeah.
No. The visuals, even though the visuals, were its sort of downfall, they were good. That was the good part of the film. Like, just when they first held Simba up when he was a baby, I was just like, wow, it's so real. Well, there was something when Mufasa was it was so funny when, after they went to the elephant graveyard, and then he tells Zazie to take Nala home. And Simba's face, because he knows shit's about to get real.
Yeah.
He goes, like, I don't leave, I'm about to get beat. That was the best part for me.
Yeah.
Like just the face there.
Are you talking about the original one?
No, the remake. Yeah.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
Afterwards,
his face was just like...
I'm so shocked.
No, you know the part where he sinks into the grass in the original, when he says, "Oh, I need to teach my son a lesson."
Oh,
and he's like,
yeah.
That one, I found quite funny. Okay, so okay.
Sorry, I feel like the remake did make me think. I don't know. I felt like Scar was quite good in the remake.
Scar was really good.
And it made me think it would be nice to have a background on his story.
Yeah.
Like,
didn't you think that they
beefing?
Oh.
Yeah, when did the beef start? Like, what happened? Like, do you get what I mean?
They kind of hint at it though. They kind of hint at it.
Scar was good.
Yeah.
I thought he was really good. I thought he was perfect. I was skeptical about him, but then he ended up being the best performer to me.
Yeah, no.
And I felt like in the remake, it actually embodied Scar a bit more in the remake. Like, he was literally just like miserable.
I liked it
and
actually in there.
Yeah.
I think the relationship, the Timon and Pumbaa, the comedy between them was good.
Yeah.
In the remake.
That was good as well.
Yeah. I thought they were quite funny as well.
Yeah.
Especially when go on.
When they're singing and then Simba starts harmonizing. What's he saying?
He said, now he's riffing.
Yeah.
I surprisingly, I don't know why I found it funny though, but when Timon agreed in the remake, when Timon agreed that, okay, we will keep the lion, and then Pumbaa was happy and said, we're going to name him Fred. I was thinking, wow, that is so random.
So random.
So random.
Yeah, they were funny.
But yeah, like what you were mentioning about Scar, I felt as though they hinted at the backstory being Scar challenged Mufasa and lost. Because in the remake it says, it says, Scar says as a reply to Mufasa, is that a challenge? He says, I wouldn't dream of challenging you again.
Yeah.
And then so then it made it seem as though that's where he got his scar from.
Yeah.
So then I was thinking, okay. Yeah. And also it made it seem, I appreciate the love story between Scar and Sarabi as well.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
When he wanted her as his queen.
Oh, yeah.
Like, as in, he wanted her as his queen. I think...
And he said something about how, like, he was the first choice, but then she chose Mufasa.
Yeah. He said, she said, oh, yeah, so this was when he was eating the antelope, when he became king. Scar says, I've simply perfected the kill with the help of my army, don't you see? There's nobody to challenge me. We can finally take whatever we want. Long ago, you chose Mufasa over me, but now there's a new king, so stop being so selfish. So, yeah, it kind of hints at there being a story about Mufasa being a certain type of king and kind of like Scar being a certain type of king, like a selfish one, and Mufasa being the wise one that knows the balance of everything. And Mufasa won over Scar and kind of keeps Scar in check.
You know, the remake, I watched a lot of documentaries on lions. I know for sure when you have a pride and there's a new lion coming in, the one lion in the pride has to go against the new lion.
Okay.
They have to go against the new lion. And if the old lion loses, the new lion has to take over the pride.
Oh, imagine.
Yeah.
You're brand new.
I think maybe that's where Scar got his scar.
Yeah. So maybe that's
the two brothers had to
two brothers had to challenge each other.
Yeah, each other. Makes sense.
And it kind of goes into what I wanted to discuss later. I wanted to discuss the role, like archetypes, Jungian archetypes later. You know them?
Yeah, but I don't know how you're going to...
How I was going to do that. Basically...
If I'm thinking of... You're thinking of...
Yeah, but basically, there's... So, let me get the definition. Archetype. Okay, so Carl Jung's definition of archetypes, as quoted by Joseph Campbell in The Hero with 1,000 Faces, forms or images of a collective nature which occur practically all over the earth as constituents of myths and at the same time as autochthonous, which means indigenous, individual product of collective unconscious origin. In a nutshell, that basically means kind of like ideas or characteristics that are kind of prominent in a certain character in a story or narrative. So there's 12 examples of Jungian archetypes. There's the self, the persona, the shadow, the anima, the animus, the father, the mother, the old wise person, the eternal boy, the trickster, the innocent child, the hero, the maiden. There's much more, but this is what I'm shortening it down to. And there's definitions of them. But from just hearing each and every one of them, I'll mention certain characters and then try and tell me which ones you think are which, if that makes sense. So let's say the characters Simba, Mufasa, Nala, Sarabi, Zazu, Scar, Shenzi and co, Timon and Pumbaa, and Rafiki.
Okay.
Without hearing the definitions of each one of those archetypes, which one would you match with which, if you can?
can't think of them all, but I know you mentioned one that was father.
The father.
As an obvious one.
That's the obvious one.
And the old person. You said
Yeah.
old person?
Yeah, there's the old, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
The old wise person, sage or senex. The definition of the old wise person is the innate spiritual aspect of the psyche with the main concern for knowledge, wisdom, and perhaps a gift of foresight. This archetype appears and acts as a teacher, mentor, advisor for the hero on their journey and encourages self-reflection or introspection. So, and the father is the authoritative, stern, powerful figure. So that's Mufasa. And can you think of any others?
What ones are left?
What characters or which?
No,
Which
archetypes. Okay, so the archetypes.
The
mother's in there.
I would put Timon and Pumbaa because they sort of raised Simba.
Yeah.
Nurturing,
True.
loving, comforting.
Very much, yeah.
And there is the self, the persona, the shadow, the animus. We've already mentioned the father, the mother, the old wise person, the eternal boy, the trickster, the innocent child, the hero, and the maiden.
I guess Simba's kind of the hero.
Yeah.
Because he comes back. But I feel like he would fall into more than one.
Yeah, he would. You can fall into more than one. You don't have to be just one.
Same with
I think Nala's kind of the hero too.
You think?
If it weren't for her.
I think that's the case in the second, in the remake.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I felt like they gave her more of a role in the second.
You see her sneak off, like going and
sneak off. And I think the thing that I was afraid of came to fruition.
Beyonce.
Yeah, exactly. Which said, "Are you with me, lion?" I was like, "Oh,
Beyonce's here."
It's Beyonce.
I was like, "Yeah, Beyonce had to come out."
At one point or another.
At one point or another, she had to come out.
Mostly throughout. Like it wasn't Beyonce. It was Nala.
No, I was looking at it like, this is Beyonce. This ain't no.
Yeah.
But it's just because that's the voice. You can't not hear it.
Yeah. So yeah, in the remake, Nala had more of a hero aspect to her.
I don't know what's the shadow. I would say Scar.
Exactly.
And what's the self as well?
The self is your
persona one. What is their definition? I think I would be interpreting it differently.
The self is the entire individual psyche composed of both conscious and unconscious. It's the individuation process, which involves integrating various aspects of the personality into one. And it represents the whole unified psyche. And the aim of the self is to be cohesive and self-actualize. So cohesive.
I would put that when Rafiki led him to the water for Simba to see.
Exactly. That's how I think Simba represents the self. Because, Simba represents the self. And all these other archetypes are represented by different characters. I would put Timon and Pumbaa as the eternal boy. The eternal boy just means like the person who doesn't want to grow up, doesn't want the responsibilities and so on and so forth. And it's the Hakuna Matata thing. So they represent him wanting to stay a child, him wanting to stay with innocence, him wanting to forget all his past, all the dark side of everything. And Rafiki is the person is the sage that calls him to grow up and kind of shows him the dark side of his psyche. Yeah. You know, when they're running through that forest. Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, keep on following. Oh, it's like he had to go deep into his psyche and kind of realize who he was. Yeah. All the things he didn't want to see. So that's why I'll put that as that. The shadow is defined as the repressed part of the psyche due to both personal and social standards, expectations. The negative personality traits include envy, greed, prejudice, hate, aggression. Represents wildness, chaos, the unknown. appears as a snake, a monster, a demon, a dragon, or some other dark, wild, or exotic figure. So I think it's Scar.
And the hyenas.
And the hyenas. So that part is like the repressed part. So then that was like, you know how Freud talks about the superego? And I think that Mufasa represents the superego.
Do you think? Not the ego?
No, I think it represents the superego as in like, this is how you should act, this is how you should act.
Okay, yeah.
And then it was kind of like, he keeps the shadow at bay. But at the end, you know when Simba says, "No, Scar, I'm not like you."
Yeah.
But then he repeats the same words that he did.
Yeah.
So it's kind of ironic, but it's kind of like he's learning to use the shadow against the shadow.
Yeah.
The ways of the shadow against the shadow. So I thought that, okay, so that's why I think that Simba is the self, because he's trying to integrate all these parts, the eternal boy, the shadow, the super ego, which is the father, the lessons from the old wise person, the eternal boy. Oh yeah, even the eternal boy doesn't leave him. They come along with him to Pride Rock. He doesn't just get rid of his childhood. They come with him and then they learn to adapt in that sense. And what else is there? The trickster. I would say that that's Scar as well. The innocent child, that was him refusing the call from Nala. Nala saying, "Oh, you need to grow up." The innocent child in him is saying, "No, I don't want to. And the hero, he is the hero, of course, at the end with the roar. And the maiden, maybe Nala, I suppose.
What's the definition of the maiden?
The maiden is the innocence, desire, and purity. She seems pure-hearted. That's all I can put into it, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
And I guess, what's the bird called?
Zazu. I think he's part of the father.
Yeah.
And also,
because he even mentioned something as well about knowing Mufasa when he was younger.
Yeah.
Like, I remember seeing you before you were a king, when you were young.
Exactly.
Boy.
And also, exactly. So then at the end, even Zazu's there. So it's kind of like saying that even and Zazu kind of acts as Mufasa's conscience, or how Jordan Peterson puts it, Zazu is the all-seeing eye of the king.
Yeah.
Because he's always flying around and giving him the report and all sorts of stuff like that. And I thought, that's amazing. That's so true. He's like the person that's why, he goes up ahead. Like when he's in the gorge, tells him where to go, so on and so forth.
That was even in Mowgli.
What was it in Mowgli?
The all-seeing eye. There was I don't know if it was an eagle or raven.
Yeah, there is
do you
something.
remember?
Yeah.
Always circled around the jungle.
Giving messages.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe that comes into it as well. So I don't know if you guys... So did that kind of answer your figures in like how I was going to put it in?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking of. Okay, so did you feel like there were any additions or subtractions to the narrative that were tastefully done?
No, and I feel like that's maybe there was no additions, and I kind of expected there to be, well, maybe little ones, kind of, actually, like when Scar does mention fighting, competing before and stuff. So I guess there were little bits, but nothing.
Okay, I'm going to give you examples that I kind of noted down. There was the rivalry between Shenzi and Mufasa, so then the fact that they were level-headed, rather than not level-headed, but like, let's say they were rivals, direct rivals, rather than, and then it was just, Shenzi and Mufasa were direct rivals, as well as Mufasa and Scar.
Yeah. They
were direct rivals, and then it was just Scar and Shenzi who kind of worked together to kind of bring him down.
Yeah.
I felt like that was, I appreciated that because it seemed more, not believable, but actually it did seem, it made sense, and it was more believable because then it seemed as though what Scar said about him needing an army to kind of rule the Pride made sense because he needed, he couldn't defeat Mufasa alone, basically.
Sorry, in the remake, in the original, I can't remember, but was Scar always with the hyenas, because it kind of felt like Scar only just met the hyenas in the remake and just linked up with them.
That was his stomping ground where he goes to chill.
Because in the old one, it was kind of like you always knew of the hyenas and linked up with them before, but in the remake, it kind of felt like you just...
I have a proposition.
Let's
work together.
And then he's saying that, it did feel like that. It felt like he made a deal with the hyenas just then.
Yeah.
Like as in, like they were level, like you can both benefit. And then he said, you guys didn't do your job.
Yeah.
It did feel like more like that. And it felt like Scar was he was outnumbered in the original, but it felt like he was treading in dangerous territory in the remake.
Yeah.
So it needed the hyenas more.
Yeah, so that was an addition that I kind of appreciated, basically. And also, what about the finding your raw thing? How did you find that?
Which bit?
He was always trying to find his raw.
Yeah.
But they kind of made it as like a metaphor for self-actualization. You know Maslow's pyramid? Like they kind of made it a metaphor for that. Like, let's say this is where the lion, when Scar said this is where lions go to find their roar and da-da-da-da. I felt like, that's interesting. Like, that interesting.
Yeah, it made more sense than the original where Scar said, your father has a present for you. He took him to there because his father had a present.
Yeah, exactly. I felt like I appreciated that.
Yeah.
Did you feel that the remake was kind of like it's like it kind of grew up with you, like let's say the original, your childhood. How do I express it? Let's say okay, The Lion King. When it first came out, it was like more like children watched it. And like the remake is like those children that watched are now adults.
Yeah.
So we're gonna make things make sense.
Yeah. For them.
Yeah. I did feel like that. I felt like
even that example of you using like, I've got a present for you, wait here. When we were kids, we would have been like, okay.
Yeah.
But now we're grown.
Yeah, you've got to use a different excuse now.
Okay, so...
Okay.
They made it for their fans that have now grown up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was like, why are there kids in the cinema? This is not for you. This is for us.
So then it did feel... So going back to one of my previous questions, so it did feel as though... Well, the writer was different from Jon Favreau, but let's say the writer and Jon Favreau, you feel like they did justice with the remake in that sense? Or did it feel like a disservice?
No, it didn't feel like a disservice.
It's still trash.
But I do feel like we needed it though. Like it was nice to have. So,
but then it could have.
But it could have been better.
It could have been executed. Like if you're gonna remake Lion King, it wasn't trash, but it wasn't. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't as mind blowing.
Yeah, as the first.
Yeah. As the trailer even.
Oh, as the trailer.
Like the trailer had me. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. Same. To be honest, I even enjoyed this one. But like I said, the story, I just enjoyed the story more so than like the musical kind of performances or like the vocal performances and stuff. I really enjoyed the story. So that's why I really liked it. I wouldn't
watch it over the original though. Like if someone said, let's watch Lion King and both are on Netflix, I think I would watch the original.
Yeah. I think so as well.
I just wouldn't.
Okay, so another addition is Sarabi and Scar's backstory. Another one is Mufasa's patrol, as in when he's going around with Simba at the beginning. Also,
do they not have? But him and in the original, him and Simba go out, and he teaches him how to catch prey. No?
Well, he has the patrol, but there's like certain additions. Like let's say, for example, in the speech that he gives on top of the rock. He says, it's like, look, Simba, everything the light touches is our kingdom. But a king's time as ruler rises and falls as the sun. One day, Simba, the sun will set on my time here and rise with you as the new king. When Simba asks, it will belong to me, instead of saying, it will, he says it belongs to no one.
Yeah.
But it's yours to protect.
Yeah.
So stuff like that seems like it adds an extra, it's kind of like refining or kind of like, what's the word? Like correcting certain things that people might take for granted.
Yeah.
So for me, I think, okay, so in a nutshell, I think this film is about individual free will. And so when the father is telling him, everything is yours for the taking, or everything is yours, it's kind of like, it reminds me of the Genesis story where God tells Adam and Eve, you can have any fruit, just not this one.
Yeah.
And so he's saying you can have free will, but just not this.
Yeah.
And so then it's kind of like, it also seems as though this version is kind of hinting at the fact that we might not be taking care of the earth as we should. Yeah. Because it seems as though Scar represents the side of human individuals who are kind of like taking what they can and just pillaging the earth. But the side of Mufasa seems as though that's the side that we should kind of take a balance. We should understand the balance, and we should not try and take for what we can gain, but for what we can give. Yeah. So that's kind of like what I appreciated about the film as well. It seems as though, like you said, it seemed as though it grew up with us and it kind of brought an extra lesson.
Yeah, there were a little. Yeah, even actually when he explained, I don't know actually if it's in the original, when he explains the circle of life, when he says once they die, they go into the grass and then we eat the grass. I don't think they touched on that before in the original.
They did.
Do they?
Yeah, he said that.
Oh, he did say that in the original. Okay. Yeah.
I said when it was coming out, people had a problem with Pumbaa, the way he looked in the live action one.
I did as well.
That's how they look in real life, though.
Yeah, we look ugly.
Yeah, that's how they are.
Yeah, that's how they are. Yeah.
But I think the point is he knows that as well. He's just like.
I think it caught me off guard though when I did see.
They're ugly, man. Live in the flesh. They're gross.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I felt. Also, yes, actually, another reason why I do like this remake is because they kind of made like a opposition between the circle of life and the line of life.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Do you remember that? As in, Mufasa talks about the circle of life, about everything being interconnected and so on and so forth. And Timon and Pumbaa talk about, they say, nah, that's false. It's a straight line. You just go in and then that's it.
Get you.
So, yeah, exactly. So, the reason why I appreciated that one is because, or that addition, is because they kind of highlighted the opposition between his old lesson and his new lesson.
Yeah, because he's like, that's not what I was taught.
Yeah, exactly. And it seemed as though...
And when they laughed at him when he mentioned about the stars.
Yeah, exactly. So then it kind of brought to life more why they were laughing, or why the inner conflict that he felt, what he was taught before and what he's around now. And so like with Timon and Pumbaa, they said in nature there's a delicate balance. It's no circle. In fact, it's the opposite. It's a line. It's a meaningless line of indifference. And you can really just kind of do your own thing and fend for yourself, because your line doesn't affect anyone else's lines. You're alive and then you're not. A circle would mean we're all of this, which would make doing whatever we wanted not that cool. So there's like, have you heard of nihilism? Nihilism is like, it's a philosophical position where it's saying that everything is meaningless and there's no objective or transcendent moral guidelines or overarching narrative, if that makes sense. So like before let's say the Enlightenment period is basically when philosophers and thinkers learned to rely on reason rather than God, or rather than theology. And after that period, it seemed as though there was like a death of God, which is what Nietzsche, a philosopher, talked about, like there being a death of God, where it was like the standards and all this stuff. Like, there's no standard that we can kind of look to and say, oh, this is correct and this is correct for everyone. And I felt as though Mufasa's death kind of symbolizes that in a sense. And then, so then it's kind of like Simba moves into nihilism, into the place where people just don't have they just don't want to do anything and they're apathetic and all sorts and stuff like that. Even if you remember in the film, they ask him what he wants to do and he's not motivated to do anything. He said, oh, I don't want to do anything. And so that's kind of like how things are with nihilists now. They say that, oh, there's no point doing anything because there's no God to judge you at the end. There's no need for responsibility. There's no need for hassling yourself because we're just going to die in the end. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. You might as well just get as much pleasure as you can. So I felt as though them highlighting that seemed as though they were highlighting that kind of tension between moral realists and those who are nihilists, those who believe that life is meaningless.
Yeah.
So so that's that. Don't know if you guys have anything to comment about that.
No, I think that makes sense.
Okay, so let me ask you this. What parallels can you draw from the films and real life? If you can, anyway.
I think that idolization that you have towards like your parents or whatever when you're like mad young. Yeah, Simba was always wanting to go out with his dad and he pretty much idolized Mufasa.
Yeah.
And that tends to happen in real life for some people, I guess. And wanting to be like him, he was so small and he wanted to get his rule right. He wanted to, he couldn't wait to be king. And it's that, also that, like, when you want to be older when you're so young. You can't wait for all these things to happen when you're grown up. And it's just like, take time. So,
no, I agree with that 100%. Like, he wanted to grow up. He wanted to grow up and then responsibility hit and then he didn't want to.
Life.
That's what life is. Yeah. But you can't do anything when you're young though. That's the thing. It's true. Like when he was like, oh, can I come? No. And it's like, oh, you can't do nothing.
But even in the remake, when you get older, you're like, I just want to do nothing. I don't want to do anything.
The remake, when they were like, go and play with the cubs, and he was looking at them.
Cubs? My baby?
I see that.
I think the two, like what you were just explaining with the nihilism and stuff, I think the two perceptions of life, whether it's a circle or a line, comes with status kind of where they are, because for Simba and Mufasa, you're kings. You have to have that elite sort of perception. There's more. We're doing this for a greater good. When you're lower down in society, you can see from Timon and Simba's point of view, they are just the prey. So for them, life is a straight line. They don't have that power to then control the circle of life. For them, it is, and that is how it is for us. Like the poorer people, you don't. What we do really doesn't make a difference. Sad as it is, life is. We get caught in the system, so there is no point sometimes trying to do better because the system will not let you, and that's kind of like the straight line. But if you're rich or you're of a high position where you've got that power, you see it as I can make these changes. There's more. I don't know. I don't know if I'm explaining it the way I'm thinking it in my head. I get it. But I think that's in real life. You have those two perceptions when those who aren't as fortunate, you sort of just Hakuna Matata is what you just do whatever you can. Whereas where you are of more authority sort of position, you do have a higher sort of, different perception.
You have a bit more creative freedom.
Or you have to see that there is, you are in control, whereas when you're like Timon and Pumbaa, you don't have that control. There's people above you, there's predators above you, you're just a small fry. So you have to just stay hidden and whatnot, because you don't have that luxury of just...
I think they touched on that in the third film as well.
I think I need to
comically as well, like, because I remember Timone's mum was showing him everything the light touches. And she says, look, Timone, everything the light touches, everything the light touches belongs to someone else. So it's
I need to rewatch that.
No, I need to watch that. No.
The one I would pick is with Rafiki, where it's like when you feel like there's no one on your side, there's always someone there for you. Who will guide you, who will give you advice.
Yes.
You just have to ask or find that person.
Yeah.
I feel Rafiki was that person.
Yeah.
I feel like Mufasa talked to Rafiki at some point, saying, "When I'm not there, please watch him for me."
Yeah.
You know, like yeah.
And I like the way Rafiki is like really spiritual as well, because it shows that, like you said, someone's always there, but it doesn't always have to be someone. It could be like some sort of spirit that's always there and stuff like that. So it's like,
he was like a godfather.
Yeah. He was like a godfather, definitely. Yeah, he was a godfather. He blessed them at the beginning. Yeah, he was.
I like Rafiki.
Yeah, I like Rafiki as well.
Even at the end, before his war, Rafiki was there to show him it's time.
Yeah.
That guidance.
Yeah, he's the guide. Yeah, the mentor.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, what did you think about the scent? Now that we're talking about Rafiki, what about the scent that went from, you know, when
that
fluff.
one,
the fluff,
tumbleweed.
the tumbleweed fluff thing. How did you like the change in that one? How they made it kind of go
a little
through?
more realistic, more believable.
You thought so?
Yeah, because as I understand, in humans, we shed. Our skin sheds, mostly in the bathroom.
Yeah.
So that made sense. The remake made sense that Simba's fur kind of traveled.
Would shed.
Yeah. But in the original, it was leaves.
Yeah. In the original, it was leaves.
Which was hard to believe. Leaves would.
But I think
travel that far.
the thing is that I liked about no, but that's the whole thing about the interconnectedness and that we're all connected, that kind of thing. That's what I felt like that kind of symbolized. And it's kind of like with this, I like both of them. I like the original because it was kind of like, it's kind of showing how spiritual Rafiki is. Because he's just like listening to the wind or like paying attention and just grabbing it.
Fluff.
And then you
should just know.
And and I was like, it was I don't even know why I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. But yeah, it's like when he puts it into the turtle shell and then he's just like smelling it and then he realizes it's Simba. I'm thinking, how did you even get there?
Yeah. I think it didn't. I liked the fur bit. I got it, but I feel like Rafiki is spiritual enough that he didn't need the fur. Like he could just sense it. He would just know that Simba is alive. But it was nice that it carried on. You saw sort of carrying through.
I felt like they the reason why he didn't know that Simba was alive. I feel like they did it for the story's sake because when he wipes the
for people who don't have an open mind, people who always like to have some connection.
How did it
Okay, I see.
He's Rafiki, that's what
So like even when he wiped the painting of Simba, it was kind of like lost hope. And then it's kind of like when he gets the fluff back, it's like regain hope. And also, what do you think about that as well? Like the fact that the insects were they painting the thing in this remake? You know how the insects were on the the drawing? Were they painting it, or did he paint it with fruits and then the insects were just drawn to the fruits? Because he always used fruits or vegetables to do stuff. So I'm thinking, is it the insects that come? Did he draw it and then the insects that come?
It's the insects that came.
Okay.
They formed themselves into Simba's picture. And then Rafiki, I think he blew dust on them with something. And then when the insects crawled away, it created Simba, an image of Simba.
Yeah, I think it's insects that do that.
I think the insects were his familiars.
Familiars? Oh.
What they talked about in Wiccans and witches, the familiars are cats, animals that are like sidekicks or something. That,
I see what you mean. As in like what's the word? Like followers kind of, or like disciples kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. To finish, you know, I was talking about the archetypes of Simba being the self and being the individual with sovereign free will and stuff like that. And he represents what each person is. Abraham Maslow would say that the whole film is about self-actualization. And Carl Jung would say that it's about individuation. So self-actualization is being the best that you can be. And individualization is just basically making yourself an individual, setting yourself apart. So I was going to say, how can we kind of like be an individual by identifying with, you know how Rafiki shows him saying, oh, this is you. He lives in you, that kind of thing. How can we be an individual if we kind of identify with, let's say, someone else or something else?
I think it's, I don't know how to explain this. I think it's like having that person there and just know it. I can't explain it. Give me some time.
It's hard because you do have that interconnectedness, but that's what makes you individual.
Because it's kind of like, if you, so say for example, Simba and Mufasa, like he lives in you, blah, 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 but it's kind of like for Simba then, he knows what his dad was like, but he knows where he differs from his dad. So he knows that, okay, this is what my dad would do, but then I may have like the same views or opposing views, and that's what makes me. If you get what I mean. So
I think I get what she meant. She means like in life, your parents always set a goal for you, something that they wish they did, or like wants you to follow in their business, but you have to follow your own goal, your own business.
Yeah, decide if that's for you or if it's not for you, and if it's not, what is for you, and then from there you create yourself.
So do we just kind of like ignore who our parents are, or?
No, I think you learn from them. You take what they have given you and you make it your own. So whatever lessons or resources, whatever they have given to you, you interpret it your own way, or then you use it, you apply it in your own individual way. You're using what they have given you, but you're doing it for your own intentions.
But if you said that you're doing it for your own intentions, does Simba do it for his own intentions?
I think yes, at the point that he does.
Like him coming back to... like him at the end sets up self-actualizing.
If it wasn't his person, like he doesn't go straight away when Nala says let's go. He's not like, cool, let's go. He comes to that decision himself through finding himself first, finding that his father still lives in him. This is actually his duty. That's his job to protect the land and everything. So he has to come to that on his own. He doesn't easily go when Nala tells him. He doesn't easily go when Rafiki first says, I know who you are.
I feel he wanted to be king.
But
because he thought that he killed his dad, or it's just the guilt that kept him back, held him back.
So he always wanted it.
When finally he realized that he was not guilt, that he was not to blame, or
he had to like forgive himself.
He forgave himself.
What period? Hold on. What part of the movie are you talking about when he actually? In
the beginning, he was excited to be king.
No, I mean, as in what part? Like, what part did he forgive himself? Because it seemed as though he didn't really forgive himself.
After Rafiki showed him.
I felt like he didn't really forgive himself until after he found out Scar did it. Because remember when Scar was like, oh, so who's responsible for Mufasa? He still had the doubts. And then it's only after he figured out the truth, that's when he was like, okay, so I'm not to blame.
But I think he kind of realised the reason why he went back was because he realised, well, this isn't actually my fault. And then when he found out from Scar, that sort of just clarified for him, okay, so there's nothing to actually forgive. It wasn't me, but...
And I kind of felt like when Rafiki came to him, I feel like he realised that he's always wanted to be king. So I feel like in that moment he must have not forgotten about the situation with Mufasa, but he realised that, oh, this is something that I've always wanted, sort of thing. And then when he came back and Scar reminded him, that's when he kind of realised, oh, I did do something bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of felt like the want for him to be king was there more than him remembering that, oh, he killed his dad or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Okay, the desire to be the most that you could be, yeah.
Yeah.
That was there. That was the realisation after the encounter with Rafiki. One thing I am surprised about though is that Rafiki, how is it that Rafiki never came to any family gatherings or something? That's what.
He's like there in spirit.
No, he was. The tree that he lived in. The tree that he lived in was close to the Pride Rock.
I'm sure.
No, but like I mean,
the invite. He didn't get no invite in the post.
He was there for the blessing for the baptism, but then it's like ever since then, Mufasa never met Simba before that point where that's why he said that, oh, you knew my father, because he didn't know Simba, but
I feel like Rafiki doesn't have to, he represents something higher than that. He's not the father, he doesn't have to be there. He's more like an image of a god or something. Like I don't want to say god, but he has this higher sense. Yeah.
I think he's more like a bridge.
Because even when Scar ran things, he wasn't really involved in that.
No, he wasn't. He just minds his business.
Yeah.
Though he was watching from his tree.
Yeah. Until it's time for him to intervene and just...
Him and Zazu were watching from the tree. They're doing it all. Yeah, the all seeing eye thing. They're still aware of what's going on.
Yeah. Even if they don't show it all the time, they still,
One thing for me, when I was watching the remake, you know when Scar is king or whatever, and then all the lionesses are chilling, where's all the other lions? Like, was there no other lions? Like,
that's what I thought, but then I think a pack of lions is just one male and then female.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then also, what threw me as well when he's like, I've perfected the hunt. Excuse me, it's the lionesses. Okay? You did this shit.
You are on your feminism.
The male lion just sits there and waits. The women go and hunt and bring back the meat.
Excuse me.
About I perfected the hunt. I said, where? Where? You didn't perfect nothing. He wanted to keep this realism of the lions, but that bit you wanted to change and fantasize.
I didn't even.
When I was sitting there thinking,
I didn't even realize that. But yeah, no. The reason why I asked that question about how do we identify with someone else or something else and remain ourselves is because, like, you know the song Beyonce's Spirit. At the end, she says, "Be one with the great I am." Of course, we know that means Yahweh in the Hebrew tradition.
Of course.
Yeah. No, but some people don't. Some people don't know that. So she meant it like that. So then she meant as though you have to be one with God to be yourself. And also, in the second film, it begins with the song "He Lives in You." Do you remember that song?
Yeah.
That one. So then it kind of feels as though, he's in everything, omnipresent, that kind of thing. But there was a song called "We Are One" where it seemed as though there was like a conflict between Simba, who's saying that, no, Kiara, you need to become queen, and then Kiara kind of responds thinking that, like, I can't really be myself. I don't feel like I'm being myself if I have to be part of one plan. And that's how certain people feel, like, oh, I don't want to be part of God's plan.
Yeah.
Because then I can't be myself. So do you kind of have like anything that you could kind of say to kind of reconcile that? To kind of be like, oh yeah, you can be one with God, but you can be yourself at the same time.
I think for me, that's like, you can have your relationship with God and not follow religion. Religion will keep you in a box and not allow you to be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But you can be yourself and have your relationship with God without following a specific religion. and that will allow you to be yourself and be with God. You don't have to follow the norms of what an old ancient book scripture has told you. You still have, but yeah, I don't know how deeply into the whole religion thing.
Yeah. Okay. Gladys, do you have any?
That makes sense.
You have a similar outlook, or?
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but I don't know.
Sadiya, no.
I
Straight like no.
I don't like the second one.
But like, no, with the idea about being one with, being one and being part of a plan, or like one big scheme of things, like God's plan, and being yourself. Do you feel like there's a tension? There seems like there's a tension there, and I feel like the second film kind of highlighted that tension. So what I'm asking is that how do we kind of reconcile that tension where we feel like we can still be, I don't know, spiritually at one with something higher, but at the same time be ourselves?
I don't have anything to say.
Don't know about that.
What about you?
I'm not sure if I can express it so much today.
Yeah.
Today I'm feeling a bit, I don't know.
I feel like
I think
It's a whole nother debate.
Yeah, it's a whole nother debate, and I want to kind of finish quick. But I think it's kind of about realizing, like, what is it that moves you, and what is it that you feel like you would potentially, I don't know, die for, or what do you feel like is above yourself, but it still feels as though it reflects your like highest values or something like that. So, you know, when people die for something, I feel as though what they're saying is that this is more important than me, this is higher than me, but it's my actions in this is reflective of me at the same time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, let's say people that do the civil rights movement and so on and so forth, they obviously, they want to live their life, they have a family and whatever, but they have to sacrifice so much because they feel as though there's something higher, something more important than what it is that more important than them staying in their comfort zone. It's a tricky one to kind of sum up into.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of basically looking into that deep place, that quiet place, and finding out what kind of inspires you, what kind of gives you life, what makes you feel as though this gives me life, but I would even die for it, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I don't know if that
makes sense. Yeah.
All right, well, let's end here because we're over time.
Nice.
Yeah, smooth transition. Yeah, thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.